Oh, it's on repeat. Shit.
Just do that the whole time.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the #1 sports podcast, broadcasting Sundays at 9 a.m.-ish in Sacramento, California. Sports Talk 916. Now here are your hosts, Greg Bowl and Coach Greg Barrosi.
Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday. This might be our record-ish for starting on time. Only a minute late. So welcome. Happy Dolphin Day to everyone. Oscar, it's National Dolphin Day, so I don't know if you're on yet, but that's what it is. And you are tuned into episode number 288 of this little shindig we call Sports Talk 916. I'm Coach Greg. That's Mr. Chief, Greg Bowl, posing right now. I don't know what he's doing.
I got the Masters on, so I'm just keeping an eye on the Masters for us.
Oh, I'm working.
Red shirt.
I'm working on that right now.
Fury.
I'm working on that right now.
Molinari's still in the lead at 13 under. Tiger's at 12 under. Brooks Koepka is at 11 under. So Tiger's still in the hunt. It's exciting.
Yeah, I know.
Love it.
Yeah, good thing there's nothing else to talk about. We can talk about the Masters the whole time we're on today.
Yeah, we talk about the Masters. We could talk about the fact that you did great on your WrestleMania pool.
I did.
And nothing else at all. So,
Giants won 3 in a row.
Yeah, the Giants have been playing good. I told you so. I told you this team is going to be better than they look on paper, just because they actually, they can string some stuff together. But
especially 12 games into the season. Woohoo!
You know what? They've played more games than anybody else in the league since they played 2 on Saturday night.
Yeah, right.
Which I stayed up for the whole fucking thing. That was ridiculous.
I sort of stayed up for it. I watched through the 12th and then slept through the 13th through the 18th and then woke up just to see the greatest 18-inning hitter in the history of baseball, Brandon Belt, hit a double.
Yep. Oscar wants to know if we could talk about how bad the Dodgers suck. They've lost 6 in a row. You know it is, and we'll touch on that real quick. I honestly think that literally comes down to the fact that Clayton Kershaw is not there to keep the guys together.
Yeah, I agree.
I really think that. I mean, and that's weird to say because Kershaw obviously only pitches once every 5 days, but I think just him not being there is a huge blow to this organization's just camaraderie and whatever. So. Well,
I think they know that every 5th day they're going to be in the game, and there's some calmingness to that, and I don't think they have it right now.
Kevin Pillar for MVP is a real thing. Talk about the trade of the year so far. Pillar is just, I said it, with that one, I said he just needs to change the scenery. He opened the season 0-11. Now he's on fire. And yeah, the Dodgers do start off every season slow, and then they fucking wake up and everyone gets pissed. Nothing's as bad as Chris Davis starting the season 0-54 before he got his first hit, which was interesting. Yeah.
And then he's kind of been on fire the last couple of days too, hasn't
he? Yeah, he finally got a hit, and he's like, "Wait a minute, that's what I'm supposed to do with this bat.
I remember how to do this.
I remember hitting 50 home runs in a couple seasons ago."
Right?
But yeah, so lots to talk about. The Kings have some news that happened.
Really? I didn't hear.
And we'll get to that here in a second. I shared it to all the Kings groups. Hopefully, more people will join in. I want to let some folks get in here so we have a lot of interaction when it comes to the Kings talk, because it's going to be a heated topic. The Kings made a coaching change, and Vladdy made a quick replacement, and we'll get to that. But first, hot ticket in Vegas today is the AAA Oakland A's game. Careful, Oscar. I know you're in Vegas. Barnbaum is there. Barnbaum is on the bus on his way to that game. So just lay low. Hide if you can.
And apparently he's going to be in the broadcasting booth with the
Fresno Grizzlies broadcaster for some reason.
Keeping score.
Oscar says there's also some hockey game tonight in Vegas as well. Yep, Sharks are there. Chris Davis is batting 0-0-7-9 right now on the season. It's a hell of a so Tigers 1 behind with 9 to go. They're through 9. Tigers still 1 off the pace, so we'll keep an eye on that.
I'm getting
as you mentioned,
right
it's
now.
National Dolphin Day.
Woohoo!
And is there anything else on National Day that matters?
No.
Mark, we're going to get to King's new hire here in just a second. We want to, like I said, we want to see if anyone can share to the Kings groups, get this going a little bit before we jump into it. But first, let's since we're going to talk mostly playoffs and basketball, I should say, let's start with playoffs. So, NBA playoffs are in full effect. The second half of the first round games kick off today. A little bit of there's been a couple surprises.
There's a lot of surprises.
Every game except for one has been a huge surprise.
Right.
So we'll start with the East, and Orlando upset Toronto yesterday in Game 1, 104-101. So that game was pretty good. DJ Augustine hit the game winner with like 3 seconds to go in the game, or 4 seconds to go in the game, which was very surprising. I think that series I don't think Orlando keeps that up throughout this whole series. I think Toronto kind of falls back and gets into it. Brooklyn absolutely thumps the Sixers. Now, the final score wasn't as indicative of the game being as bad of a blowout as it was, but the Sixers completely get steamrolled, and there's a lot of controversy right now because
of this.
Yeah, because of the cell phone. So Amir Johnson, backup center, has been fined by the league. The Sixers have fined Amir Johnson an undisclosed amount for conduct detrimental to the team. He had a cell phone on the bench, and him and Joel Embiid are looking at text messages on the bench while their team's getting their asses kicked. Johnson says, "I've taken full responsibility and will accept the consequences of my actions. I also apologize to my teammates, the Sixers organization, and the fans for the distraction this has caused. Elton Brand, I have addressed the matter with Amir directly, and he understands why his actions were unacceptable. We're moving forward together with our full focus on Game 2.
Did you see what they were doing, though? And Embiid came out with this, is Amir Johnson's daughter was really sick.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was checking on his daughter.
Yeah.
Which I get, but at the same time, there are plenty of assistant coaches and people on that bench that can be in full contact with his family, and should there be an emergency, they can get to him. He shouldn't have his phone on the bench. So Brooklyn takes Game 1, 111-102. Boston and Indy are live right now. Indiana, I should say, not Indy. It's pregame. They haven't started yet. It says live. It's pregame. And Milwaukee, Detroit, which I think is the least exciting of all the series, goes off later this afternoon.
Right.
Portland, Oklahoma City is today. Houston, Utah is today. The Warriors completely shut out the Clippers, 121-104. Steph had 38. It's gonna be a fun one to watch. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in that series. DeMarcus Cousins ripped off a hell of a run at the end of the season. They kind of took the reins off him a little bit. He started to show himself as the dominant player that he was.
How did he do last night?
I didn't see any of the game. Sure I did last night. Let me pull it up. But I do know that the West is going to be in trouble if DeMarcus continues, continues playing the way he was at the end of the season, because that's just another weapon that this team didn't need. Let's just put it that way. They brought in Andrew Bogut thinking that he was going to be that filler because DeMarcus just wasn't, filling in as well as he was. And lo and behold, DeMarcus was like, hold on, you're going to bring in this guy to take my minutes? Yeah, that's not happening. And completely turned it around, and, the rest is history from there. Why can't I find the stats from last night's game? This is retarded. Let me just do it a different way. I was surprised how Boogie didn't so good. Must have been a typo there. Tiger Bogey was 4-5, but followed consecutive birdies, moving to 12 under. So yeah, Tiger. Okay, sorry. Got distracted. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see what happens with DeMarcus in his first ever playoff games. There's a chance he might not play in a few games because
he may not. And the thing about DeMarcus too is Oscar says Bogut looked better than Boogie, and I think that has to come down to the fact that Bogut's been there, Boogie hasn't, and it's one of those things where it's like he'll get it, he'll figure it out. I'm sure there was nerves like crazy going through his system. DeMarcus last night, 9 points in 21 minutes, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and he fouled out. So, and DeMarcus doesn't typically foul out a lot unless he's just, distracted. And I'm sure that there could be a huge distraction in the fact that he, it's his first playoff game. It's an atmosphere that he's not necessarily prepared for, and you can't really mentally prepare for that until you've done it. So I think DeMarcus will bounce back just fine. Durant had 23, Green 17. Like, I don't know. I mean, the Clippers were a great story this year, but I don't know that the Clippers have the firepower to keep up with Golden State.
Well, you know what the Clippers are going to do? I think the strategy that they're going to try to use is to get underneath the skin of the Warriors. And they got Durant kicked out last night. Some point in the fourth quarter. I didn't see any of the game. I had other stuff going on. So, but I know Durant got kicked out. A Clipper got kicked out, and that's what they're going to do. And I think that's what they're going to try to do. If Boogie is playing more of a role with the Warriors, is they're going to try to get under his skin, and they're going to try to get ticky-tack calls fouled, and they're going to try to get him to react and take him out of his game. Because if you take him out of his game, he's completely ineffective. He'll start whining and complaining about every call. He won't get back on defense, and that team is susceptible to that. Draymond and Durant, and they react pretty harshly sometimes, and that could be. It's not going to be enough for the Clippers to beat the Warriors, but it could be enough to where there might be a suspension involved later on. It could end up hurting the Warriors a lot.
And I never thought I'd say this, but Draymond Green is going to be the beacon of calm. Yeah, he's going to be the one that keeps DeMarcus in line, which is crazy to think.
The voice of reason.
That's the term I was looking for. The other game yesterday was San Antonio and Denver. San Antonio Pop just completely outcoached Michael Malone. And what's funny is, what was the main thing that happened with this team when Michael Malone was here with the Kings? There was every single game you can count on one thing to happen, regardless of what happened. Do you remember what that was? It was the dreaded what?
I don't remember what you're talking about.
Dreaded third quarter. No matter what happened in the game, the third quarter sucked. Last night's game, so first quarter, Spurs 25, Denver 20. Kind of low scoring for both of those teams. Second quarter, Spurs 34, Denver 31. The third quarter might have been the worst third quarter in the history of sports. Denver scored 17 points. San Antonio scored 13 in the third.
Oh, God.
That's a high school girls junior varsity game. And then San Antonio pulled away in the end, 101-96. So, that's going to be a fun series to watch too. Oscar said it earlier. He just doesn't think that Michael Malone is geared for the playoffs. Sammy Spearman, oh my God, Malone's a good coach. What the hell happened to Gogurt this season? Here we go. This is what we're going to get into. But
dude, stop. The fucker's gone.
Right.
Just get off of it. I'm fucking tired of this shit. God, Sammy, just let it go. He's gone. You got your wish. He's fired. Just leave it the fuck alone. Thank you.
And Verosa's on prime form this morning.
God, fucking pisses me off.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Jaeger was not a bad coach by any stretch of the term. It's just, and like Vladdy said, I think he just wore on the team, and a lot of stuff came out after the fact that that he and Buddy didn't get along, he and Bagley didn't get along. There was strained relationships, and I think that's what it ultimately came down to: is you need to keep your core players consistent and happy, and that's part of the reason why the move was made. And just light a spark under it. We're gonna get to that here in a second, but let's see what this Molinari just parred 13, so he's still in the lead. Tigers teeing off now. God, it's good to see a red shirt back on Sundays.
I know, right?
It is. No, he was not a bad coach. Yeah, TJ, that was very punter-esque.
A fucking punter.
Let's see what hole they're on here.
I think they're on. He's teeing off right now. I might be behind.
Yeah, it sounds like you are.
Yeah,
Let's see. I'm going to share this. Luke Walton. Oh, I just spelled it for everybody.
They're on the 11th, by the way.
Was it the 11th? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was 13 under was the score. I'm just going through and sharing this to all the Kings groups that I'm a part of. God, I'm in too many Kings groups. Cool. All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, good. No, go for it.
No. Go
I'm
ahead,
not even reading the comments, so if you saw one, go for it.
Oh, I just, he did have a lot of questionable rotations, and I don't want to let's wait and get into that when we start Kings Talk, because I don't want to start.
All right, so let's start Kings Talk. So let's see if Yogurt gets another job. I keep saying Jaeger's going to get another job. I would not be surprised if the Lakers look at Dave Joerger as a coach, because if they don't hire Tyronn Lue, I think Dave Joerger is going to be a candidate for that Lakers job, because his style and let me rephrase that, his normal coaching style, not his fast pace, because he literally changed his entire style for the Kings to run that fast pace. His slower style and his Memphis style of coaching, and his historic, what he did over his entire career, which was successful everywhere he's coached,
right,
fits a LeBron team. It fits a LeBron James made up team where it can be fast paced at times, but it runs through LeBron, and that would fit very well. Jaeger's good because the Kings won 39 games. Yeah. It's the most successful season in 12 years. That makes him a better coach than anyone we've had since Rick Adelman. I don't know why it's so hard to understand that. This team was expected to win 25 games, tops. They overachieved. They played beyond their means. He developed those young players very well this year to get them where they were. And everyone says, oh, well, Dave Joerger cost the Kings like 12 games and this and that. His rotation's questionable. Keeping Buddy on the bench late in games and the starters out of games, very questionable.
And not starting Bagley when he probably should have been starting Bagley, questionable.
Right. Mitch says that's a 12-game jump in the Western Conference. That's a pretty big deal. Bingo. Mitch gets his comment up on the screen. This season, they came out early and said this season is not about wins and losses. It is about developing the young players to get them ready for a push. Look at the jump that De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, Harry Giles, just starting with those four, look at the jump they made from previous years to now. He developed those guys tremendously. And yes, Bagley should have started. But if you look early on in the season, when Bagley came in against the starters, he was pressing. He rushed everything. He was extremely anxious on the court. He made a lot of boneheaded mistakes. When he came in against reserves, he was calm. He came in, he produced, and he did a great job. He got in the starting lineup, then he got hurt, unfortunately, and that set him back. And I truly feel that it was smart just managing him the rest of the season. The season was pretty much a loss when he got hurt. That's when the Kings fell apart. They still had a chance at the end, but that stretch where he was out, it cost them a lot of games. And it was pretty good to pull the reins back on Marvin Bagley a little bit. See what Harry Giles can do. See what other guys can do. And who's playing with a yellow ball? I've never seen that before in golf. So, I'm not upset with the way. I mean, let me rephrase that, because I'll be called a Warrior fan because I'm okay with mediocrity. I'm upset that the team didn't make the playoffs, because midway through the year the expectations did change. It went from developing to we can make a run at this. But at the same time, like Mitch said, it's a 12-game jump. It shows us what's going on with this team is promising. And it shows not only the players that are there now, but it shows other players like this team is moving forward in the right way. It wouldn't be a train wreck to come sign here and play in Sacramento. So,
right.
Yeah, it sucks we missed the playoffs, but I'm good with the way it progressed. You had to see what you have.
And a lot of these guys, including Sammy, who I guess thought we should have won 60 games this year, they forget that we've won some games.
Say, and I quote, this should have been a 50-win team.
It shouldn't have been.
No, it shouldn't have been. There's no way that even with losing half of those games that were questionable, there's no way they're a 50-win team.
No. And they don't take into account the games that they won in the last second. They don't take away the games they came from behind and won. So, in the long run, it evens out. I said it all year long, and I'll stand by it today. This was a 500 team from the beginning of the season. They never got more than 3 or 4 games above 500, and they never got more than 3 or 4 games below 500. They were there the whole time. You can't expect this team to make a 25-game jump. It's just not possible. It takes time to learn how to win.
Hold that thought. You can't expect any team to make a 25-game jump. That is a huge jump. Unless you go out and get multiple bona fide superstars, there's no team in this league, especially as young as the Kings were, regardless of coach, that's making a 25-game jump.
Right. And to expect that is way too much. And to not have a long-range view of this team. And I think that's where guys like Sammy and those guys who were calling for Jaeger's head and other people that had a different view of it, like us, we're looking at this as a long-range thing. We're looking at this as a long-range thing. I'm looking 2 or 3 years down the road from the beginning of last year. These guys were looking for, we got to do it right now. And this team is too young. There was absolutely zero, and you can say, Shumpert, you can say Kufas. There really was zero veteran, experienced leadership with championship pedigree for this team to follow. There were some veterans, but not really anybody that's played a major role on any championship or long playoff run team. So to expect that from this team was asking way too much. Now,
and not only that, can you imagine? So let me paint a picture for you. Let's say the Kings made the playoffs, right? Exceed expectation, made the playoffs, and let's say they got swept by Denver or Golden State in the playoffs, right? Regardless of that, guys like Sammy and all the negative Nancys in these groups would have still called for Jaeger's head because they didn't make it to the finals. There's going to be no pleasing any of the people in these Kings groups that all they want to do is bitch. Bitch. That's all they want to do.
And look at it already. It already started with bitching about Walton.
Right. And Sammy does bring up a lot of good points. We've talked about it before. He does know what he's talking about. But everything he starts with is surrounded, and he's not alone, is surrounded by negativity that causes people to get fired up. I feel that 80% of the shit that gets posted in these Kings Facebook groups aren't even the way people feel about things. They just want to get people talking because they're chasing likes, they're chasing comments, and they just want to see people's reactions.
Yeah.
Jason says, do you think the Kings had any extra motivation because they don't have a first-round pick this year? I don't think that players give a rat's ass whether or not they have a pick. They were just playing basketball and they were having fun. And the other question I have was, okay, so at the end of the year, the team started to fall apart, right? They lost, 17 of the last 26 games.
Right.
How much of it do you think is the fact that they were playing a speed that hasn't been seen in 15 years in the NBA? A lot of these guys are second-year players and rookies that have never played an 82-game season. They've never played at that pace. How do we know that this team just didn't get tired and just worn down?
That's a great point.
To the point where they couldn't perform even with the proper rotations and the proper, minutes and all of this other stuff, how do we know that this team just wasn't breaking down and they were just worn out? Because they went into training camp under the assumption that they were playing Jaeger's old style. So, which means in the season, in the off season, I guarantee you these guys weren't running sprints up and down the court for 48 minutes.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, they were prepared for a grinded out half court with a couple, with running here and there. And then at camp, they're like, oh, by the way, we're fucking running. And they're like, okay. Fox is like, yes, this is my game. But even guys like Willie and Bagley and, Bogey coming off a foot injury and having a foot injury and knee surgery into the offseason, how much of it do you think was just taking a toll on these guys? Because they're like, we were not ready for this.
And the bench wasn't that deep. The bench wasn't there to provide anything. And we saw that the last couple of games when Jaeger played the bench. The bench there's not enough depth on this team to maintain that kind of pace.
Exactly.
And I think that's a lot of the reasons why, and we talked about this when it happened, in some of those games where Buddy didn't come back until 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, or Fox didn't come back till right at the very end of the game. And they sat long periods in the fourth quarter because I think if he would have played them, there's no way they would have made it through the end of the year. And people would have gotten hurt. And I think he saw that.
And if that is the case, then that's one thing. But at the same time, you need to come out and you need to address that as one of the reasons why these guys are riding the bench long periods of time, because it was a head scratcher for everybody, for fans, for players, for, media. Like, everyone was like, what the hell is going on? Jaeger, regardless of how you feel about him coaching, is probably one of the worst, if not the worst coach in the NBA when it comes to addressing the media. He's cocky. He's kind of arrogant. He's smug. He just is basically a big fuck you to everybody in the media. Right. He could have relieved a lot of the stress on this team and a lot of the negative shit about this team if he would have just addressed it. These guys are playing at a pace they've never played before. They're never been in an 82-game season. We've never been in a playoff race where every game matters. I'm protecting this. These guys are getting worn out. Injuries are starting to show up. They're sore. They're hurt. They're whatever. Like, don't make it as an excuse, but at the same time, address it somewhat.
Yeah, but that would have come across as he was giving up. And you can't say that, we're playing this because we're tired. You just can't do that. He needed to, and I'm sure that they did. Vladdy's not a stupid guy. I know that he knew that. I know that he saw the same thing. They had to have talked about it within themselves. But you don't come out and say that to the media. You can't. The fans didn't get him fired. Vladdy got him fired. And Vladdy decided that it wasn't working. But I don't think it had anything to do with him not addressing the media.
Sammy, you're spinning what I said. You guys saying that Jaeger, God damn it, Jaeger got no rotation, but he can be the Lakers coach. He had he just had problems with the rotation. His rotations were fine 90% of the time. He had very questionable things. And, Mitch just said he did give up, though. I honestly feel that at the All-Star break, Vladdy wanted to make a trade or make a change at coaching.
He said that in his press conference.
Yeah, Jaeger knew the writing was on the wall. He wasn't coming back. When they didn't extend him by this season or the midway of the season, he knew he was out as coach. So until they were mathematically eliminated or close to being mathematically eliminated, obviously he's going to continue to coach, but he knew the writing's on the wall. It's like if you walk by a conference room and you hear your boss is talking about layoffs, and you hear that it's your department, you're not going to put in full effort. You're going to be like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to mail it in. Jaeger was mailing in. I'll give him that. And I will criticize him for that, because if he would have turned it around and made the playoffs, it might have changed Vladdy's perception of the coach. He may have got to work out his final year. Vladdy got the extension. There was talks that the Kings were still willing to extend Jaeger if things would have went better. So that is a knock on Jaeger big time. But as far as rotations go, his system and the way he manages things would fit with the Lakers, with LeBron and with Rondo and with Stevenson, the veteran guys. He is a veteran style coach. Every team he had in Memphis was veteran laden. It was packed with veterans. He just doesn't work well with the young guys. Where on the flip side, Luke Walton works very well with the young players. He develops young players very well. Now, I know what you're going to say, oh, he didn't do that in LA. He got dealt a shitty hand in LA. You can't come in as a lame duck coach. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. He came in as the coach they wanted, and then you bring LeBron in, and he instantly becomes lame duck because LeBron wants his guy in there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, LeBron carries enough clout around his head that no management is going to come in signing LeBron James and go, and you have no say in anything. Because LeBron wouldn't sign there. Jeannie Buss and Magic Johnson wiped LeBron's ass with a gold piece of toilet paper the second he signed there and basically said, you're going to be able to control personnel, who you want, what coaching staff do you want, and Luke Walton was not the guy he wanted. So it makes sense that he had such a rough year. His first year,
and they were in the playoff hunt. They were the 4th seed coming in. What, at the All-Star game?
They were in there.
Yeah, and then all that Anthony Davis shit happened, and
I think that was LeBron and Magic. That had nothing to do with Walton.
Yeah, no, it had nothing to do with Walton. Walton's just sitting back going, all right, there goes my job, because those young guys, they gave up. They didn't know what was going on. Oh, you're going to trade me? Fuck you. I'm not going to play then.
It's the same thing like with Jaeger. We just said, you find out that your job's in jeopardy, you're not going to put in the effort.
Yeah,
he found out that his job was likely in jeopardy, and all those young guys were like, what, you're going to trade us? See ya. Like, fuck you.
Yeah. And you don't want me. So I think TJ's right. The Lakers are a dumpster fire. And I think you could have had Popovich. I think you could have had, you name the 50 greatest coaches of all time, and not one of them could have made that team a winning team this year with all the crap that was going on down there.
Barnbaum said, frankly, the 2019-20 season under Luke Walton will be all about wins and losses. After the season, we should judge both Walton and Divac, as this hiring decision solely rests on Vlade, not ownership. I agree with all of that until the last sentence. This hiring smells like Vivek rubbed his junk all over it.
Oh, I posted that yesterday, yeah.
Vivek wants to be Golden State. He wants to be a high-powered shooting offense, and I feel that this hiring was very, very Vivek Ranadive based. Yep.
It was very it has Vivek all over it. And I had a feeling as soon as the Jaeger firing happened, there's no question who was going to get hired here. You know, there was talk you wanted the San Antonio assistant. There was talk about Monty Williams. It was pretty much those three that I heard about, but none of them were going to get hired. Yeah, I mean, this with Walton's ties to the Warriors, with Steve Kerr giving him such a
oh man, he basically praised him up and down, left and right.
And you know, Vivek's hearing that, going, okay, that's what I want. I want the Warriors down here, and in the water.
You might be way behind.
I think I am. So
fast forward that shit.
I can't. I'm watching on my phone.
Says, I've been saying the exact same thing. Luke got dealt a shitty hand when LeBron went to LA. I think he's going to fit in very well with our Kings. I agree with that, to the point where, you know, everyone points out the fact that Luke Walton over the 3 seasons with LA had the exact same record that Dave Jaeger had, 98 and 147 or whatever it is. I'm trying to pull it up right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you go back and you look at his coaching stats, right? If you look at Luke Walton, why can't I fucking pull up Luke Walton coaching record? If you look up his stats as a coach, it's basically asterisk ridden. Like there's so much that so 2014, 2015 was his first assistant job, right? He was with the Warriors. He was assistant coach, so none of that matters. 2015, 2016, Steve Kerr was out with back surgery and other ailments, so Luke Walton took over as the interim coach. They were 39-4. I think they started that season like what, 27-0 or 24-0 or something crazy like that.
I think it was.
That one you put an asterisk next to it because that was Kerr's team, and I think I could have coached that team to a 20-0 record. Like, there wasn't much coaching that went involved, and Steve Kerr's a great coach, but there's not a lot of coaching that goes into coaching the Warriors at this point.
No.
This year, maybe more than others, because there is a little bit more, turmoil in Golden State when it comes to the way the games are going. They're not just like dominant wins, but you put a little bit of an asterisk next to that because that wasn't his team. He didn't build that team up. He was just an assistant filling in. But that also shows the respect that team had to play behind him as an interim coach and win 39 of 43 games. Then he goes to LA. He went 26-56 the first year. That team had nobody on it. Nobody on it. The following season, 35-47. So he had an 11-game improvement from that year. And then even with this season, they won 37 games. He still improved every year that he was with LA, regardless of how bad that team was built and how much LeBron messed it up. I do think that he's going to be a coach that can succeed here in Sacramento. And, a lot of Kings fans are, and let me preface that with, I'm not too excited about the hire, but he's going to be the Kings coach, so we have to support it, right? It's just like when, a player gets traded or a player gets brought in here. DeMarcus Cousins is a great example of that. It's not the Sacramento DeMarcus Cousins, it's Sacramento Kings. You support the name on the front of the jersey, not the back of it. In this situation, you support the coach that's running the team. It doesn't matter who's here or not, whether you like the hiring or firing or not, you support the direction the team is moving. So I think that Walton, if he is the right guy, great. If the team wins, fantastic. I'm all for it. I don't care who's leading the team. It just, as long as the culture and everything continues to move in the right direction. I do feel like they should have done a little bit more due diligence with other interviews just to make sure that Walton was the right guy. They had Walton pinned before he was even fired from LA. It was Walton's going to be our coach. Okay, well, what about Monty Williams? What about Messina from San Antonio or Messina from San Antonio? Hell, what about Becky Hammond? What about someone else to interview that is a damn good coach? And if you go through your due diligence and you interview all those guys, the guy from Philly, their coach right now, is likely going to become available this offseason. There's a lot of coaches that you could have just waited till after the playoffs. You didn't need to hire a guy day one of the offseason.
Yeah, but it goes to show you that they wanted Walton, and the whole idea. That's what I'm saying. Let's get him before somebody else does, because somebody else is going to hire him in the next couple of days.
But are there even any other coaching vacancies in the next couple of days right now that are even open? I think the Kings and Lakers are the only two that made a move on their coaches so far.
Yeah, but there's going to be 5 or 6. I mean, Phoenix is going to be open. I don't know if Philly's going to be open or not.
But you don't think they could have at least started an interview process with somebody? I mean, you know what I mean?
But it goes back to who was in charge and who was actually making that decision to hire Walton.
Right.
It wasn't Vlade. Vlade's smarter than that. Vlade knows what he has to do. I think the order came down from above and said, Walton's available, or if Walton becomes available, which he probably will, hire him. And
what if it's backwards though? What if it's, Cleveland's open too. What if Vivek said, because you mentioned Vladdy's a smart guy and he knows what he's looking for. What if Vivek said, you know what, I would like a guy like Walton, do your research on him. And Vladdy went through and did his due diligence and heard what Steve Kerr said and talked to other people around the league and went, you know what, this is the guy that I want. I don't think that Vladdy's as big of a pushover as he was a couple years ago when he first started. He's proven himself that he can make decisions and make good ones to improve this team. I feel like maybe the front office or the ownership group, had a say in it, or maybe they didn't. Maybe Vladdy just was stone set on the fact that this is the guy that I want running our team.
Then you know what? Then he did. I
don't feel like it would have been better for the fan base to shut the fan base up and not have so many questions and not have the media automatically going back to, the Kings are dysfunctional again. That was the first thing they said on all over ESPN and all over the different things is They fired Yeager after the most successful season in 12 years. The dysfunction's back in Sacramento. Like,
yeah, but to be fair, a lot of those guys, when they did hire Walton, came out and said, "A great hire, perfect fit." Even Screamin' A. Smith came out and applauded the Kings for hiring Walton.
Screamin' A. Smith. Colin Cowherd said that Walton would be an idiot if he didn't take the Sacramento job over the Lakers job. So yeah.
And if that was the case in basketball, people know that.
Right.
Then why take the chance that Cleveland hires him? Why take the chance when Phoenix's job opens up? Why take the chance that he gets hired out from under you? If that's who you want, and that's who you're set, it's set in your mind, and that if that was Lottie's mindset, hire him. Just hire him.
And I agree with that. It's just initial thought was, damn, this was just a very fast paced, like, we're just gonna get this guy, and it's like, well, okay, why? Chances are the Kings and Lakers brass had discussions involving Walton prior to the season ever ending. In other words, Walton's hiring probably wasn't as fast as people think it was. I don't know that they're allowed to talk like that, but I would have a feeling that the Kings ownership definitely, or Vlade definitely, probed around the league with people he could speak with.
Yeah.
Maybe people in Golden State, maybe people with LA. Hell, Vlade and Magic are friends. He could have contacted Magic after he stepped down as GM and president and said, "Hey, what's your thought on Walton as a coach?" Because I don't think, as much as all the reports were that Magic wanted to get rid of Walton, I don't think Magic wanted to get rid of Walton if he had a choice. But LeBron wasn't going to have it that Walton was there, right. And I think his hands were cuffed. When it came to that, so.
And I think that's part of the reason why Magic stepped away is he wanted to be in charge, and he knew that LeBron was the ultimately it's going to be it's LeBron's team. And so, if Magic's not going to do anything and not going to have any impact, Magic's not the kind of guy to stay and play second fiddle.
That's a bad putt there.
Oh, I think you are way ahead of me.
35 feet away, left it about 4.5 feet short. Let's see. Didn't Vivek and or Vlade want Walton a few years ago before that he went to LA? So if that's true, makes sense. They didn't waste any time. Going to the fact a lot of what happened in LA was not Luke's fault. They obviously still very fond of him and wanted him to be the coach. And I think that has a lot to do with going back to what we said about Vivek. Vivek wanted to be Golden State 2.0. That's why he wanted Buddy Hield initially, because he wanted to be a part of that shooting team. He thought he can shoot as well as Steph or Clay. That's why he drafted Nick Stauskas, because he thought he was going to be the next Clay. Vivek and Vlade have wanted Harrison Barnes for like 4 seasons because he was a part of that dynamic in Golden State. A lot of it rolls back to Vivek has a fondness for what he was a part of in Golden State before he bought the Kings. And, a lot of people say that that's a problem, but if we could get to a winning way that Golden State had by bringing in personnel that mimics what Golden State is, newsflash, Golden State is the face of the NBA right now, and that's what everyone's striving to be, is beat the Warriors. So if you can't beat them, join them, right? If you can't beat them with your current setup, build something similar to them that you can compete with. That's what Houston has done. Houston has a very similar style to Golden State. It's just James Harden and Chris Paul, but Mike D'Antoni has a system in there that is very similar, fast-paced, where they could run with Golden State. I think that's why the Kings played such a fast pace this year, is because they knew that they could run with those teams. Although, matchup-wise, they couldn't match with Houston to save their lives. But they're moving in the right direction toward that. So for everyone that spins it as, they just want to be Golden State, that's a problem. It sounds bad as a King because you're like, well, fuck, I don't want to be Golden State. I want to be the Sacramento Kings. But when you pull the curtain back and look at it, yeah, you know what? I do want to be like Golden State. I want to win.
Who is Golden State? What is Golden State? Golden State are Kings 2000, 2001, 2002.
Yeah. Do you think if social media was around back in the 70s, do you think a lot of people would be like, damn, I want to be Boston? Or the 60s, I want to be Boston. Or in the 90s, damn, I want to be the Bulls. I want to be Jordan and the Bulls. Of course you do. Those are the teams that were kicking everybody's ass. You need to be on that level. So it just sounds worse in print, I think. You have Twitter, you have social media. When you read it as Vivek wants to build a Warriors team, it sounds shitty, but when you think about it, that's exactly what we want.
Yeah.
So
and Walton's going to bring that. I mean, did you see the stat that James Hand posted yesterday?
I did not. What is it?
The Kings were fifth in pace of play in the NBA. The Lakers were fourth in pace of play. And the Kings
going to bring that speed, and that's even with LeBron. Yeah. LeBron doesn't play fast.
No, and the Kings. Let's see, how was it? The Lakers shot more 3-pointers than the Kings did, but the Kings made more 3-pointers than the Lakers did. So
because the Kings didn't seem to make a lot of threes.
No,
they made. I mean, obviously, Buddy made a lot of threes, but it seemed like the Kings missed a fuck ton of threes.
Right, and so if you bring those things together and we increase the pace of play, and they're shooting better threes, that's the recipe to win in today's NBA, and maybe a couple of defensive rebounds once in a while.
Right. So Jason just made a really good point. That's why teams hire ex-Patriots coaches. Yeah. Not that it always works out, but you're always hoping to find that next Bill Belichick.
Right.
That's why Messina and I believe Becky Hammon is going to eventually be hired as a head coach out of San Antonio once Greg Popovich leaves, because it's a culture that you want to be a part of. It's one of those guys that you want someone that's ingrained in that system to be your next coach, because just like Golden State, and I think that's why Luke Walton got hired so quickly, was because they wanted that Steve Kerr mentality to go to LA. Hey, Tigers tied for first. Tigers in the lead, tied for first place. There's a 3-way tie at the top of the board right now. Let me rewind it here a second. Xander Schaufel, I don't know who the hell that guy is. Francis Molinari and Tiger Woods all are -11 or -11. Bubba Watson, Justin Day, and Patrick Cantlay are at -10. Watson and Day are on 16. Schaufel is on 13. Woods and Molinari are on hole 12. It's going to be crazy if we see Tiger get his 5th green jacket. That's going to be absolutely intense. Because who would have ever thought that Tiger Woods would be back in the running at the Masters? He's going to win tournaments here and there, but no one thought he was going to win another major.
But they did say, a lot of people did say, if he's going to win a major, it's going to be the Masters.
Right, and it's raining like crazy right now.
Yeah.
So Tiger's teeing off on 13 right now. And by the way, CBS, where's the button at? Where's the button at? CBS. I applaud you, because every ball that gets hit, they immediately have the yellow ball trail on it, and it makes golf so much easier to watch, because they tee the ball off, and when I play golf, I can't usually find the ball until it lands. The fact that I could watch the ball from the second it's teed off to the point where it lands is amazing. I appreciate everything about that. The next question I had for you about the Luke Walton hire is, what do you think the chances are that, because it is reported that he is very well respected by everyone that he's coached, maybe except for LeBron. What are the chances that you can see a former coached player by Luke Walton want to come play with him again in Sacramento?
Do you have anybody in mind?
Well, I'm looking at the 2 teams he's coached right now. The Lakers, there's really no one on the Lakers roster that excites me to the point where they want to come here. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is expiring. Rajon Rondo is expiring. Mike Muscala. Yeah, Lance Stevenson don't want. Reggie Bullock don't want. Tyson Chandler, probably not. But
too old.
Here's a name that I think would be extremely intriguing on the Sacramento Kings with Luke Walton replacing Willie Cauley-Stein for cheaper, and that'd be a JaVale McGee.
Yeah.
McGee,
I saw somebody posted that yesterday.
While he is one of the biggest Shaqtin' a Fool recipients ever, in the last couple of years, JaVale McGee has actually turned his game around respectfully, and he rebounds, he fills the middle, he can run, he can get up and down the court. He's a big above the rim guy if Fox is able to get the ball to him. And while it feels like he's been in the league forever, JaVale McGee's only 31 years old.
Yeah.
And then, the rest of the roster, I don't give a flying shit about. As far as the Warriors go, Bogut's not coming here. Cousins isn't coming here. Jonas Jerebko. Although Kings fans may be like, oh, Cousins is coming back.
Yeah.
Charlie Wells, Rajon is my guy. I would like to have him on the bench as an assistant coach. I think he would be a great assistant coach. Clifton said McGee. The only name that stands out that I think one of the players that really hated him leaving the bench was Klay Thompson. Now, I don't think you're going to see Klay, come to Sacramento. But if you're going to look at Klay or Durant, who we've talked about in the past, who really liked the system that was being played here, I think the Kings have a better chance of throwing money at Klay than they would Durant. Because, there was a lot of rumors that Klay was linked to LA because he wanted to go play for Walton. Well, Klay's not going to LA to play next to LeBron, or I should say if, because you don't know for a fact, but if he's not going to go play for LA, do the Kings have a chance of bringing in a guy like Klay to pair him up with Luke Walton? Do you think Walton has enough power to recruit someone like a Klay Thompson here?
Boy, he's got as much chance as anybody else does.
Let's get a picture. What if the Kings restructure Harrison Barnes, right? Let's say they offer him a $52 million deal to restructure that $25 million he makes this year.
Right.
That brings that raises the salary cap from $37 million to whatever it would be. It'd be above $40 million in salary cap. Maybe they sign a JaVale McGee or a DeAndre Jordan for, a league minimum or, a veterans minimum or slightly above. Do you think that the Kings could sway Klay with a big contract? Because that would be a max deal.
Yeah.
But do you think that there's a spot for him? Because one of the things that Jaeger got really, really reamed for was the fact that he made comments about the fact that the Kings didn't have a true three. And then when they get Harrison Barnes, he started Barnes at the 4 and didn't play Bagley or Giles at the 4 and took Barnes out of his true position.
Yeah. Is
there even a spot on this roster for a guy like Klay? Because that would make Luton have to put Bagley at the starting center.
That's a really small lineup.
Barnes at the 4 and Klay at the 3. Because you're not moving Buddy or Fox out of the starting lineup.
No.
I mean, is it even maybe
Klay
not even a spot for a guy like Klay?
Klay can't play the 4.
Well, he could. He's 6'9".
Yeah, but that's not his game though.
He's 6'7". But hey, that'd be a hell of a stretch 4.
Yeah.
Let's see. Chris Daniels says that's a damn shame that JaVale McGee is being considered a viable upgrade for Willie. I don't know that I would call it a viable upgrade over Willie, but I definitely think that Willie's time has come and gone as a Sacramento King. And really, I was just bringing up JaVale McGee as a reference to players that Luke Walton had coached that may have a chance of bringing over. I think DeAndre Jordan's a much better upgrade over Willie than JaVale McGee would be. And maybe Willie looks at it and goes, you know what, I have a chance to play in a system I really want to play in here. I'll take less money because he wants $22 million. That's not
going to happen. No, he's not going to make that. I know he's not going to make that anywhere in the NBA.
You would sure hope not, right?
Yeah, and I think that maybe that divide between Jaeger and the team, maybe Willie was part of the problem in that, and maybe playing with somebody like Walton, who's a better communicator and more understanding of younger-ish guys, because Willie's not a young player anymore. He's at the prime of his career. Maybe he wants to play for somebody like Walton, and Walton can make an impact on him and get him to do the things that obviously Jaeger couldn't get him to do.
Yeah, maybe.
Because he's got all the tools. We've all seen it. He's got all the tools to be a very valuable piece to this team. If he plays the way he should, he could be. I mean, we've seen it. We just don't see it enough. And if somebody could get to him to instill that confidence into him and say, look, you play this way, maybe they sign him for a short contract and let him learn how to play a little bit better. And maybe in a couple of years he comes back and okay, you can give him more money.
And to correct what Chris Daniel was saying earlier, he said it's a damn shame that JaVale McGee is being considered a viable upgrade for Willie. He expanded on that. It's the shame being on Willie, not on the fact that we're looking at JaVale McGee.
Yeah.
Basically, Willie played himself into that conversation by not playing himself out of that conversation, essentially. Charlie Wells, Willie Cauley-Stein is China's next superstar. TJ's been saying that for months. He's going to play in China. Him and Jimmer Fredette are going to pair up in Shanghai and fucking kill it. Chris Daniel, I mean, Bagley is doing all the things that Willie should be doing. If Willie was playing like that, I wouldn't mind paying him, but he's just not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if Willie Cauley-Stein has all the potential in the world, like he could, if he plays the way he should, sums up the entirety of Willie Cauley-Stein's career.
Yep.
Joe Davis just landed himself on screen. That literally is Willie should Stein. Like Willie should. It should be the fucking name, right? Hold on, it could be Bill Walton, Luke Walton. Fucking retarded. Yeah, Willie had all the potential in the world to earn it. And if Willie, he has that thing of putting his foot in his mouth. If he came out and admitted that, he jammed his hand or whatever it was on a block last season or his rookie year on the rim, and it jacked up his hand. And he admitted that he's scared to play above the rim on defense because he doesn't want to get hurt again. And to me, that mindset alone is going to break him of his potential, because if you ask anybody, ask DeMarcus Cousins, ask Kobe, ask anybody that went down with like an Achilles or a knee injury. Hell, talk to Sean Livingston. He had one of the most gruesome knee injuries you'll ever see in the history of the NBA, or probably professional sports. And they asked him and Paul George said the same thing about his leg. They asked him, when you go up and jump and dunk and block and whatever, do you think about it? And their answer is a resounding no. Because if I think about it, I'm gonna think about it when I'm landing. I'm gonna do other things that's gonna distract me from the normal process of playing, and that's how I'm gonna get hurt again. I have to trust my body, trust the doctors, trust everything that was repaired, and go out and play the game that I'm supposed to be playing it. And I feel like if someone could get in Willie's head about that and go, look, just play the game, don't think about it, I think it would come a lot better to him.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate thing, is I think he's so wrapped up in his mind of, I don't want to get hurt, I have other things to do after basketball, whatever it might be, that I think that's ultimately what's hurting Willie Cauley-Stein's production.
I agree.
Joe Davis, let's be real. What good is a 7-foot guy who is scared to play above the rim? Isn't that their purpose? Willie Cauley-Stein was drafted out of Kentucky for his defense. He was a dominant defender with the ability to get up and get the ball on offense from college. That's why he was drafted 5th overall. He hasn't done that. And the problem with Willie Cauley-Stein, and we've talked about it, and I don't know what's going to happen, with Walton there if he's around, but he's neither tough nor gritty. Yeah, it's pretty much accurate. Is you're playing 4-on-5 offense when Willie Cauley-Stein's on the court if you're not in the fast break. Because he gets the ball and defenders just step off of him. They give him 15 feet if he's outside of the paint, because they know that he's not going to do anything. And that's a damn shame, because he should be someone that can get down there and take care of it, So it'll be, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to see what Vlade can do. Vlade has, he has his ability to hopefully recruit some people and and get things going. But damn, let's just see what he can actually do.
And I think this is everything that Vladdy's done is leading up to this next year. And this is his make or break year. This is his, if this team isn't better, I'm leaving year. You know, he got a little pass because they made some strides this last year. But this is his make or break season. This hire, this this free agent class, the makeup of this team. If this team, I mean, unfortunately, there's a chance this team could take a step backwards before it takes a step forward. And unfortunately, Vladdy doesn't have that luxury. This team has to be in the playoff hunt, and it not just a hunt for the 8th place. It has to be in the hunt for, 4th, 5th, 6th place next year, or he's in trouble.
Right.
This team has to, and you and I both agree with this, that Jaeger probably, if given another year, would have had them in the high 40s, mid to high 40s in wins, which would have put them, competitively.
Yeah.
So if Walton doesn't at least do that, then this team is taking a step backwards, and that's not going to look good for anybody.
Agreed. The other thing too, though, is what I like that they did is they did something that the 49ers did, and they paired Vladdy's extension with Walton's deal. They both have a 4-year deal running through 22-23.
Yep.
And if either one of them falters, I think that's going to be the downfall for both of them. It's you're making your move right now. You need to make sure that you are performing, because it's now or never.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that Vladdy did that, because it could have been way worse. Or it could play out worse if they don't have success, because like Barnbaum said earlier, this season is definitely going to be measured on wins and losses. There is nothing else that you can be measured on after a season that they had, replacing the coach. You don't get a free pass. This is it. Because we found out that this team can win. There's no more hall passes. There's no more, well, it's his first. No. You win. You get us to the playoffs. That is your only job at this point, is playoff basketball for the Sacramento Kings.
Yep, absolutely.
Clifton says it's sad when he fits the system so well. Talk about Willie Cauley-Stein. If he actually plays with effort, but he does like 1 out of every 5 games. And we talked about this before, is Willie Cauley-Stein, and he admitted that he looks at social media to see where all the heat is on him. And when people are ripping him and grilling him, he comes out and plays better because he wants to prove him wrong. Well, why don't you? Well, we just lost Rosa. Why doesn't he justify why doesn't he justify the positives he gets after a good game and continue to prove that he's earning it? He's wired backwards, unfortunately. Are you there, Rosa?
Yeah, I am now. Can you hear me?
Cool.
Yeah, yep. Sorry.
Chris Daniel says, I feel like Jaeger lost the team after the All-Star break. We just weren't the same team in the second half. The way they kept blowing leads, not playing defense, letting 4th-string guys score 20 and 30 points. The Brooklyn, New Orleans, and Blazers losses were the last straw. I feel like we talked about it a little bit ago. He found out that he was losing his team. He was losing his job. Vladdy said he wanted to fire him at the midway point of the season, or I guess the All-Star breaks after the midway point of the season in the NBA, but they wanted to fire him then, but the Kings were in the playoff hunt, so they couldn't. And I think he caught wind of that, because as we know, this Kings organization, they're definitely not tight-lipped. You say something, everyone fucking hears about it. And
well, I think that's another part of the firing, though. I think part of that is now gone. They've gotten rid of that loose lip.
Tiger just birdied 13. Tiger Woods and Xander Schauffele now are in first at 12 under. Molinari has fallen back to 11 under. Joe Davis says, you're absolutely on point. Not only will Vladdy be gone, but the Kings will have proven, experienced basketball front office minds chomping at the bit to get on this team and talent on hand. Vladdy will be on a very short leash, or on a short leash. I agree. Jaeger lost the team on that buddy situation with the late game 3 he didn't take.
I don't think so. I think he lost it already.
I think he had already lost it. And that was just just the thing that magnified it, because there was already turmoil. TJ, I felt like that after the season finale was the hint to me that he wouldn't be back.
He knew that he wasn't coming back. he knew that he wasn't coming back. That press conference that he gave, that was
See you next year. No, you
yeah.
won't.
Yeah, no, he knew that.
Unless he thinks he's going to be with Minnesota or, and that's another thing is Sammy earlier. He's not going to get hired. I think he's either going to be with the Lakers or he's going to be with the Timberwolves. There's no chance that I don't think that Dave Yeager doesn't get a job next season.
No.
And I don't think he would have been as content with being fired. And I didn't get to hear him with Grant on Friday.
I didn't either. I missed that.
I'm sure it's on khgk.com. We could probably go find it, but fucking Sammy, man. He says that we're idiots, right? For thinking that he's going to get the job. Now he's over on the Kingdom. If Yeager is so good, he should get the Laker job then. Okay. Thanks for not giving me credit for that, Sammy. Appreciate it.
Right.
I guess now instead of worrying about the firing and worrying about what's, the what ifs, if we would have kept Yeager, we have to look at it now we know what Walton's going to bring to the court as far as coaching goes, right? Mm-hmm. Minnesota retained Ryan Saunders, so I guess he's not going to go to Minnesota. We know what he's going to bring for coaching. We do. He's going to bring a fast pace. He's going to bring an exciting level of basketball. But what is he going to bring to the recruiting and the free agency and, to the off the court, the off season? What is he going to bring to the off season that's going to allow, Kings fans and for players to be excited about what is to come?
I think his ability to communicate with the players and be a little bit closer to their
Chris, you just fell in the barn bomb range,
right?
Hold on, hold that thought. We didn't do this last week, and I got to remind everybody that we have to pay bills on this show, right? It's something we have to do. So let's take a quick break. Hold that thought, and then we're gonna come back to that. So what will Luke Walton bring in the offseason? Hold on.
If you or anyone you know is thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, they deserve to have someone working with them that not only knows what they're doing, but will explain everything that happens along the way. That person would be me, Coach Greg Baroza of Keller Williams Realty. I have two goals. My first goal is to coach you through the buying and selling process, making it easy to understand and as stress-free as possible, which isn't easy sometimes. My second goal is to have fun doing it. Come be a part of my team. Let me coach you or anyone you know through the real estate process. Give me a call at 916-241-8068, and let's talk about how I can coach you through the real estate process. Let me ask you one question. Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that I should know right now? Again, that's Greg Baroza, Keller Williams Realty, 916-241-8068.
Hey, Joe, thank you, man. He says, great show, fellas. First-time viewer and definitely return. I'm out sharing the page. Much appreciated. That's what
Thanks,
we definitely need. I really appreciate that. It was good to have you. Thanks for the insight. To add on to what we just said about Greg Baroza, if you need a realtor, obviously you call Greg. If you need someone to get you pre-approved, figure out what you need to spend, save, or invest, you need to call Albert Chavez of United Wholesale Mortgage, 916-230-1537. He is the self-appointed mortgage king. He has all the information about down payment assistance, financing options, different loan programs that are available to you, the interest rates, what your payment's going to be. Give him a call. It's free to find out where you stand, 916-230-1537. You can find both of their information on our website at sportstalk916.com under the sponsors page. Give them a call.
Please do.
So, like we talked about, what do you think Luke Walton, and we're going to wrap the show up here in a little bit because we got some dad things to handle, but what do you think Luke Walton brings to the table as the coach that's going to be different in the offseason, that's going to allow him and Vlade to really approach, change?
Well, I think X's and O's wise, and we've talked about this all day, X's and O's wise, it's not going to be that much different. The system's going to be the same. I think it all comes down to communication. I think Walton is a better communicator, better able to develop relationships with players than Jaeger was. And I think that was Jaeger's downfall, was not his X's and O's, not his coaching on the floor. It was his communication. And I think that, Walton has that Steve Kerr mentality and a little bit more cerebral. And I think that communication is going to help you develop that basketball IQ, and I think that's mainly that's one of the big strengths he's going to bring, is maybe he'll help some of these guys develop their basketball IQ, which at times we saw towards the end of the season wasn't there. I mean, they made some dumb mistakes that, had they been a little bit more on top of things, would never have made.
Do you think that Luke Walton, do you think his playing career will have any bearing on the fact that he might be able to relate to the players better than Coach Jaeger would?
His playing career as being a player, absolutely. Not how good he was, because
no, definitely not how good he was, because I mean his career numbers are nothing to shake a stick at.
But he knows, he's been there before. He's been down the road. He's seen it all. He's got some championship level experience playing with the Lakers. He's played with Kobe. He's seen a lot, and his dad's Bill Walton.
That was my next question. Do you think Bill Walton? I mean, he came around a couple times with the Kings when he did guest broadcasting stuff with the Kings with the final couple seasons at Arco or at Golden or at a Sleep Train.
Sleep Train.
Do you think that there's a chance that, and I don't think he's ever done it before, but do you think that Luke brings his dad in as a I don't know about a consultant, but as an extra voice to the team? I
don't think he has to officially bring him in, because I think his dad's going to be there for him. I think that,
does he bring in that extra knowledge, like during spring training, during the fuck do they call it?
Preseason?
Training camp is the word I was looking for. Do you think he brings something in that way, or does he pull off of his former experiences? And do you think that relates? Do you think that's going to relate better to these younger guys because they lived it? And like you said, he played with Kobe. I believe he played with LeBron.
I think he did. I think he did.
So, why not pull off of those past experiences to show these younger guys, like, look, not only am I preaching this, and this, but I've played it, I've lived it.
Right.
I know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that getting back to his dad, I mean, his dad's influenced him his whole life. And as much as, I kind of go back and forth on Bill Walton. Right now I'm on I love Bill Walton time in my watching of basketball. Sometimes he drives me nuts. Other times I think he's hilarious. But the bottom line is there's not a lot of people in basketball that know more than Bill Walton. Bill Walton has seen it all. I mean, he played for John Wooden. He's played for those Celtics teams.
So he did not, let me rephrase that. He did not play with LeBron. LeBron was already in Miami, I believe, in 2001, 2012, or 11 and 12. But he did play with Kyrie. And I know Oscar's not on anymore, but he played with Oscar's favorite player of all time, Omri Caspi. So that's got to mean something.
Yeah, there you go.
He can pull off of Omri.
So, yeah, TJ, his dad is weird. His dad's a hippie. His dad smokes a lot of pot, but as far as basketball is concerned, nobody knows as much about basketball as Bill Walton. I mean, the guy has, again, I take it back to, he coached with the greatest coach of all time, or he played for the greatest coach of all time in John Wooden. He knows his stuff. And I think that influence that was brought on to Luke is very valuable. And I know that his dad's not afraid of saying anything. And I'm sure that he's going to call him up going, "What the fuck were you doing last night?"
Oh, I'm sure that they probably have about as much value in their conversations as a film session would.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that he doesn't have a constant critique from his dad, or a thought process with his dad where it's like, hey, you know what, I did this, I probably didn't do this right. What do you think?
Yeah.
And that's super valuable, and I think that's huge, and that could be a whole nother aspect. And I wouldn't be shocked either if he doesn't expand that olive branch out to his team as well. Like, hey, you can reach out to this, you can reach out to my dad and, have resource if you need it. You know what I mean? Like, it's an extra, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an extra branch of communication that allowed, that made Bill available to some of his players. And I think if that is the case, and I can't imagine that Bill Walton's ego doesn't, or personality doesn't, offer that up, because I think he loves to be heard, and I think he loves to be involved in things like that. I mean, hell, he joined in on Sacramento Kings broadcast. What the hell does that have to do with anything? You know what I mean?
And I think that's what we were all hoping was going to happen when Shaq said he was going to become involved in the team.
Yeah, they threw that Shaq.
Yeah. So, I was 50-50 against firing Jaeger. I could have gone either way with it. I'm not devastated, and I'm not excited, or I wasn't excited. But I think that of everybody out there, I think Walton was the best hire, and I think that with his pedigree, with his experience, with his youth, with his potential ability to deal with younger players, I think he was the right hire. And now it's just gotta play out.
And I was probably more 60-40 not firing Jaeger, simply for the fact that I wanted to see some kind of continuity and some kind of consistency with this front office. But at the same time, like I said earlier, it's done. And like you ranted on Sammy, it's over with. There's nothing we can do about it. No one's going to change their mind and bring, let's see here. Hold on. Tiger's going for birdie at 14. And the last 3 champions of the Masters has birdied 14. So let's see how this goes. It's about, 15, 16 feet away.
Get.
Oh, you're caught up, huh?
I am caught up.
You're ahead of me now somehow. So, I think that, you move on. Jaeger has to be a thing of the past. You wish him well. He had nothing but good things to say about Sacramento. And, when all the dust settles, he did give us our most successful season since Adelman. So,
and you're not going to bury him anymore. He's, you can't fire him any more than he's already been fired. We're going to have zero impact.
Rosa, because you lived in this time. Charlie says his dad adds value, but how many games did Bill play in his career that had a 3-point line? His information can only go so far in today's game. How do you?
Well, it had a 3-point line for probably after about the 5th or 6th year, I guess. I think the 3-point line came in like 76 or 77. And he started playing probably in 71 or 72.
Molinari missed his birdie putt on 14 as well.
So I think that there were 3-point, but it wasn't used like it is today. So
yeah, absolutely.
But who did? Steve Kerr didn't.
And
Steve
what about
Kerr
this? Steve Kerr had a 3-point line. He played with the Bulls. He played with
but he didn't play. It wasn't like today's game.
No, but he was probably one of the elite 3-point shooters. Him and Mark Price were probably the two that lit it up the most in their era. And Reggie Miller was there during Steve Kerr's prime.
But I heard. I don't know who it was. It might have been the pregame show on the last Kings game, and I think it was Henry Turner was saying, or somebody. It might have even been Grant, that up until about 4 or 5 years ago, somebody took a 3-point shot, and the crowd just kind of went, "Ooh, you took a 3-pointer." Right. Now it's completely different. That's only been in the last 3 or 4 years.
It's been, I'd say it's a little bit further than that. I mean, however long Steph has been in the league, it's pretty much been that way.
Right. But even when Steph started shooting threes,
the 3-point line came in 1979.
Oh, wow. Okay. but he played until the mid '80s, so he had to do it. But
Bill Walton was a rookie in '74, so he played. So from '79, he retired in '87.
Yeah.
So he played plenty of years with the 3-point line. That's
But
I get what Charlie's saying about that though, because, and you can even rephrase that question. What value does he bring to today's game? Because he was a big man who played inside.
Well, I mean,
if anything,
what's our biggest problem? What was the biggest problem we had this year? Was our big man didn't play inside?
That's what I was about to say. If anything, if they retain Willie Cauley-Stein, Bill Walton could be a huge asset just for the fact that he can teach Willie how to be not soft.
Right.
Willie Charmin Shine, right? Charmin Stein, was that his nickname? Soft Willie. It's it'll be definitely one of those things where it's like, okay, let's see what you can do, Luke. Like, you get a clean slate, but like we said earlier, you have to get wins and losses on your record that count.
Yep, absolutely.
One final thing, I mentioned it on Facebook a couple of days ago. If many of you guys follow me on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere, you know that I'm associated with Total Nutrition Sacramento, the supplement and fitness stores. We have an athlete on Total Nutrition. His name is John. And if you follow him on Instagram, it's Run John. He is 22 years old. And Chris will get back to that in just a second. He's 22 years old, and he suffers from, well, I shouldn't say he suffers. He has a rare form of nonverbal autism. He is truly inspirational. And since it's Autism Awareness Month, John is making history tomorrow as the first ever autistic runner with nonverbal autism to not only qualify for, but running in the 123rd Boston Marathon tomorrow. He's going to make history. And this kid he's inspirational as all hell. He qualified for the Boston Marathon after breaking his foot midway through the marathon that he was on and finished to qualify. Or his ankle or foot, one of the two. He broke something that got him into the marathon. So if you want to follow his progress, you could go to BAA.org, which is the Boston Marathon. It's a Boston Athletic Association's website. You could follow him. His bib number is 7901. He's running tomorrow, and he's looking to make history right here out of Sacramento, which is totally cool. So check that out if you can. Chris Daniels, when did Bill Walton become a trainer is Nick's question. Don't know that we've ever talked about him being a trainer. We're just talking about him being another asset that could come with Luke Walton being the Kings head coach. Chris Daniel, early 2000 Mavericks with Don Nelson were a three-point shooting team. So were the Steve Nash Suns. Golden State didn't revolutionize the three. They just made it cool again. Exactly. You hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
Nick Hicks, since we're cleaning house, Willie should, I'm guessing he should not be retained. His autocorrect says boy be retained. Should not be retained unless it's on a super team-friendly deal. Out with the old, in with the new. Nick, I couldn't agree more. We're going to go ahead and give you some screen time on your comment as well, because absolutely, if Willie wants his contract, then he needs to sign like a 1 or 2 year deal at a very team-friendly cost.
Yep.
And prove that you're worth a big deal. You're not worth $22 million right now, Willie Cauley-Stein, or whatever you think you're worth. You're not a $100 million contract player. End of story, end of discussion. I don't even think we need to elaborate on that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get paid that type of money, you take a team-friendly deal that shows that you're not all about yourself and that you're focused on basketball and that you could come in and earn that type of money. What's your thoughts on that, Verosa?
I agree. Well, I said that earlier today.
Right.
I said the same thing. That I wouldn't mind that at all. And I can't imagine that there's going to be a long line of people waiting to sign Willie Cauley-Stein at $22 million a year. I think that line
prediction of either China or Charlotte.
Yeah.
They're basically the same place anyways. So it's either going to be the Hornets or he's going to go play in China. I really, and that's not to say because there's not interest in the league, but
not at that price. Not at
I think that's where it's going to be is money wise. and if he wants to be a fashion guy, he can get in with some Chinese companies, make his brand cheap, sell it in the U.S. for a huge profit, and be good to go.
Yeah, right.
There's a huge district out there for his fashion that he wants, but that's why I think that you could see a New York Knicks style contract or a Brooklyn Nets, or the Clip. I think the Clippers are going to be in play for Willie Cauley-Stein too, because they're looking to replace what they had with DeAndre Jordan. They're not going to get the same level on defense, obviously. Nick Hicks, some East Coast team will offer him at least $15 million. That's what I'm thinking. I think it's going to be. I think Charlotte's viable. I think both New York teams are going to be out there for him. If Whiteside continues to regress the way he has been, I can see Miami looking to kind of replicate what they had with Hassan Whiteside when he came back in the league with the Fury.
You mean Hassan Whiteside, the Hall of Fame basketball player that we let go?
Right.
Really? He's not performing?
Right, exactly. Charlotte, the last thing Michael Jordan wants is a mentally weak player on his team. Yeah, but I still think he fits Charlotte. I mean, they rolled the dice on Dwight Howard, and until they got tired of Howard, I mean, he produced well in their system, and I think Willie would slide into that differently, as well. And, Howard doesn't play as much defense as he used to. So, I mean, that could be part of it as well.
Is he still even in the league? Did he play this
Dwight
year?
Howard playing for Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken. Or
Is
no,
he really?
he was with Washington this year.
Oh, okay.
And that's another thing, too. We go back to the coaching carousel. I'm surprised that Vlade didn't wait a little bit for Scotty Brooks in Washington to become available to at least interview for him. He played for Scott Brooks when he was on Adelman's staff. And I thought Brooks was going to be a good candidate for. Chris just said, didn't Jordan bring in Dwight Howard, though? Exactly. So that'll be, I don't know. But yeah, the Luke Walton era officially begins. There should be a press conference tomorrow or Tuesday.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what he says about that. And free agency can't come soon enough. I'm looking forward to seeing what Walton can do as far as recruiting goes. And for any Kings fans, I mentioned it earlier, that are questioning, that he's questioning, his pedigree or his track record. I feel like it's if you're going to grade him as a coach, it's inconclusive. There's not enough. The Golden State stuff, like I said, it was Kerr's team that he just led to a great record. The Lakers stuff, I mean, the first two seasons, they were in a rebuild. They had a lot of young talent. The first, was it his first year or his second year they drafted? It would have been his first year that they drafted. No, his second year. They drafted LeVar Ball. Or they basically drafted LeVar Ball. They drafted Lonzo Ball. And that's when LeVar was in full LeVar mode. And I think that was a huge distraction for him. LeBron came in and essentially shut up LeVar, which I think was a promise. But so you get an asterisk. You grade him on his first time, but that was his first head coaching job. So you kind of have to be a little bit skeptical on that. You give him an asterisk the second year because he had to deal with LeVar all season long. And then you give him another asterisk because he had to deal with LeBron all season long. So it's an inconclusive grade. So I think really Sacramento is going to be his start. Can we trust Harry to take on our future starting five with his knee injuries, or is he destined to be our first big off the bench going forward? Is he big enough to be a starting five in this league? I mean, Harry's, if anything, I think you start Bagley at the 5. He's at least 6'10", and you start Harry at the 4. But I can see Willie or Bagley being probably a 7th guy. You usually have a guard come off the bench first, or even a small forward come off the bench, and then you have Giles come in after that. Or if you really want to run small, you bring Giles in at 3.
Right.
Or run big at the 3. Did not want Walton, but now he's the coach. I'm backing him 100%. He actually fits us stylistically when you look at the metrics. Yeah, he does. And Greg mentioned earlier that the Lakers had the fourth fastest pace of play, and the Kings had the 5th. So while we thought the Kings were fast as hell this year, Luke Walton had a faster system going. Harry is also only 20. He will get bigger. Yeah, Harry's rookie year was all about rehab on the knees. That's why he didn't play. This year it was getting him acclimated as a rookie to the NBA. and they focused so much on his lower body, making sure that everything around his knees systematically was strong. Did a ton of leg work to build up his legs. This offseason, I guarantee you that I keep saying Willie, why? Harry is going to work on his upper body, and you're going to see a much bigger, stronger Harry Giles next season, and I think that's going to be huge for him. Because I think the knees hopefully are a concern of the past. The Kings training staff did a great job building his legs up to make sure he had a solid foundation underneath them. I think for the time being, you bring Harry off the bench and start Bagley. Chris, I could not agree more. Let's see here. For Schoeffel is for par, and he made it on 14 or 15. He's the co-leader with Tiger. So I'm guessing Tiger part as well.
That was 16. That was 16.
That was 16. Jesus, I'm way behind. So we're almost at the end of the Masters here, folks. This is going to be – I almost feel like we could stretch this show out longer to cover that, but I don't know. We'll see. Any other things that you've thought about with the Kings with the season?
Yeah, a couple things popped in my mind as we were talking. And one is I can't applaud the Kings enough for getting rid of the mole that was in there. And the one that was what's his face? Who's he? Yeah. And I think that
he's an idiot.
Right. I also think that was part of the reason why Yeager got fired was those two couldn't get along, and it had an effect on the whole team. And I think that Vladdy just said, "Look, I'm tired of you guys not getting along with people. I'm getting rid of both of you." So I think that relationship played another part in getting Yeager fired.
What do you think about Josh Zimmerman's comment right now? I really, really, really want to see DeAndre Jordan in the Kings uniform next year at the starting five.
Yeah, that's cool. I could live with that. I mean, I want to see somebody there, whether it's Jordan.
Right. I want to see them at least have a starting center.
Right, which they didn't this year. And
no, they didn't. They had a glorified 4 that was slotted in the 5.
And if it's McGee or if it's Jordan or hell, if it's Willie Cauley-Stein that's got his shit together and decides he wants to play 5, then I'm fine with that. The other thing is there was a lot of talk, especially early in the season, about Marvin Bagley Jr. and how he didn't get along with Yeager. And my thought always was that, what happens after, when Bagley's contract is up and it's time for him to be, even after his first contract where it's still a team option, what happens? Does he run away right away? And I think that I don't know. I doubt that this had anything to do with the firing, but I wonder if that's going to shut Papa Bagley down. And
and that was something I wanted to bring up too, because we joked about LeVar Ball, right?
We had our own version of LeVar Ball.
We have LeVar Ball 2.0.
But it's not nearly as bad. I mean, he's not as bad as LeVar. But, he's not as much of a media whore that LeVar was. But
Jesus Christ, no.
But because I've never even heard Bagley Sr. or Bagley Jr. talk. I've never heard him, never seen him on TV. Read him on Twitter a little bit, but not nearly as much as we heard and saw and listened to LeVar. But I have to think that is another factor in the Yeager firing is we got this potential superstar in our midst, and we got to keep him happy. And we got to shut that up. And, okay, we got rid of Yeager, so shut up and go away. And, now we have Luke Walton, who hopefully is a better who has the experience with dealing with a guy like Bagley. He had to deal with the worst. So coming from Ball to Bagley Jr., it's got to be a step up for Luke Walton.
Right. You mentioned not having a true center. I'm trying to find. I've found jump ball statistics, and I didn't even know that they freaking recorded this, but it's the players that won the most jump balls.
Oh wow.
And I found one that was midway through last season. I can't find the true jump ball percentage from the full season, but Willie Cauley-Stein only wins 41% of his jump balls. You're 7'2" with a wingspan of like a bajillion. Like,
right.
How the hell are you not winning jump balls at more consistent pace? Where in retrospect to that, Steven Adams,
who I would if there's a player that I want, if he was available, I would love Steven Adams on this team.
Adams wins 71%. 71% of his jump balls are won by Steven Adams.
Willie
Cauley-Stein in 51 total jumps. This is in 2018 only, not 2018-19. Just in the 2018 season, 37% of his jumps. Karl Anthony Towns wins 57%. Dwight Howard 60%. I mean, it's fucking Alex Lynn 23%. How the hell, dude? But I mean, Willie Cauley-Stein. I mean, he just doesn't feel that need for me, and that's what. Let's see. I don't know, man. I like LeVar Ball, entertaining as hell. He made me want to watch Lonzo.
No, God.
So it'll be interesting to see what can be brought to the table with Coach Walton, and seeing what he can do with like I said, the free agency, the big things. But yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein, what do? You hopefully that you can fill that void. You're going to be losing Kosta Koufis. You're going to be losing. I imagine you're going to lose Frank Mason. I can't see them bringing Frank Mason back.
Yeah, I can't.
Yogi Ferrell's going to be a fringe guy. Do you release him for the non-guaranteed $3 million that he has and probably pay half of it, or like what do you do?
Yogi Ferrell, I could see him being the 11th or 12th player on this team.
He just doesn't play.
Yeah, he's just gonna you play him if you need him, or you play him in a blowout, or you play him in an emergency. He doesn't suck. He's not a starter by any stretch, but he's definitely gonna help a little bit. He's
Jordan's jump ball percentage. Go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, I was just saying that I think you keep him.
Yeah, maybe. It's one of those things where it's really hard to say like what you want to do. DeAndre Jordan, 65% of his jump balls on average. So I'll take that over 41 or whatever it was I said was Willie Cauley-Stein. Let me see if I can sort this by. See if I can just grab DeAndre Jordan here for his entire career. So this is 1997 through 2017 that I found this one. So like this goes back to like Hakeem Olajuwon shit. You know what I mean?
I think I have the same one you have.
DeAndre Jordan. Why can't I find you? Oh, it's because I'm not looking in the right place. He has an E in his name, not an asterisk or a apostrophe.
There's DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan, 62% over his entire, just in 2017, he won 62%.
Right.
Over his career, DeAndre Jordan, since 1997, DeAndre Jordan, so obviously he hasn't played that long, but he had 639 jump balls. He won 421 of them. So 67.1% over his entire career.
JaVale McGee is 45.5%.
What did Tiger just do? I missed it. Do you par it? Come on, show me the stats. All right, CBS, I praised you earlier. Now you're fucking up and not giving me the screens. Yogi's too small. Nix, I agree. Chris, Yogi's an okay backup. He could obviously do better, but until then, he's all right. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, what? The King, and really a lot of this talk is irrelevant, right? Unless they can restructure Harrison Barnes.
Right.
And I
think they will. I think they will. I mean,
yeah, I wonder if Harrison Barnes, I wonder if it's hey, we want to restructure you, or he opts out and goes somewhere else.
I think they're going to restructure him. I don't know.
I don't
That's
know
just my feeling.
Walk away from 225 million next year, but at the same time, I wonder if he's confident enough in himself to gamble on himself Forget points, rebounds, assists, and turnovers, etc. Can you win a jump ball? Exactly.
Right.
And the reason why I just looked that up, I was just curious because Greg had mentioned the fact that he's not a true center. And you know, it's the little things that bother me with him. It's like,
but then again,
the effort stuff, you know?
Yeah, but then again, we've talked about this a lot in the past, that you don't need a true center. You don't need let me rephrase that. You don't need a dominant center to win in the NBA. You need somebody that's going to bang and get your rebounds, and you don't need somebody that's going to score 30 points every game. You don't need somebody that is going to be the focal point of your team. You need somebody that's going to do the dirty stuff to help those guys that are shooting threes and
it's an effort thing. And
help the outlet pass.
And the effort goes down to little things like the jump ball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, dude. Like, you need to have effort from first tip to last tip or last, buzzer.
All right. So Tiger, what did he do? He must have done something.
He did something big there. Everyone's going freaking crazy for him.
You got a wave from somebody. They're not showing anything. Come on.
I know, right? And I don't know who he's playing with, but the guy in those tan pants with his I'm all for those.
So he just birdied.
Tiger's in the lead by himself.
He just birdied 15. So
Tiger's ahead, one shot at 15. Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Shuffle are in second. So hey, you just need a big body. We have plenty of scoring already, Chris. Exactly. He's in the middle, and that's why Kosta Koufos was so goddamn important to this team. He just stood in the middle and clogged everything up, and then he hit that glorious bunny hook over and over again.
But did he get? How much did he play the last 25 games? He didn't play at all. He didn't play very much. Hell, half the games he wasn't even suited up.
And that was by design. Is he knew he wasn't playing this year. He knew that he wasn't going to have a big role in this team, and the fact that he continued to show up and played when called upon was a true, testament to what we needed from a guy like like Kosta Koufos. And that's what you hope for. I mean, by no means do I want Koufos back. I want to see Koufos go somewhere and contend for a championship. Because, while I feel like we're going to be a playoff team, I think Koufos I think he's earned his right to play for a championship. Eli says, or Ellie, I'm sorry, I don't know. I believe it's Eli. The only concern with us paying Jordan is, do we hurt our floor spacing? Specifically, we're starting Marvin, or do you trust Marvin's outside shot enough at this point? I think Marvin's going to work on his outside shot tremendously this offseason. I think that's going to be one thing that he builds upon.
But again, if he's playing a 5, how much do we want him shooting outside?
Well, if we sign a guy like DeAndre Jordan, Bagley's playing the 4. We're not.
Right. But if he's playing the 5, we don't need him to shoot outside. We need him to get rebounds and put the ball back in.
Right, and dominate downstairs, because he's got that left hand, and a lot of people don't know how to defend the left hand in the low post. So
right.
Cool. Well, with that being said, I think we pretty much wrapped it up. We went a lot longer than we normally do. And we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. This was episode 288. Lots of stuff to talk about going forward, I'm sure, with the Sacramento Kings. Tigers on 16 with a one-shot lead. Be interesting to see how that follows and see if we get to talk about Tiger Woods next week being back on the mountain. Even if he's not, this is a huge, huge showing for Tiger Woods to regain his place and hopefully start winning some more tournaments. With that being said, for Greg Veroza, I'm Greg Bull. For our sponsors, Albert Chavez and Greg Veroza, this was episode 288. We will see you all maybe not. Next weekend's Easter. We'll see. Maybe we'll see you all next week.
Maybe. Good night, David.